Hey there, pull up a receipt from 2019. Any receipt. Now buy the exact same things today. Same cart, same brands, same store. Your total is roughly 30% higher, and yet the news keeps telling you inflation is over. Beaten, solved. So which is it? Did somebody lie? Are the numbers fake? Or did we all misunderstand what inflation is falling actually means? Here's the uncomfortable part. Nobody lied. Inflation really did come down, and your groceries are never going back to 2019 prices. Both are true at once. So, what does falling inflation actually mean? Why don't prices come back down once the crisis is over? Did prices ever come back down in history? Why do economists panic at the idea of cheap stuff? And most importantly, if prices only move one way, how is anyone supposed to catch up? In this video, we'll cover everything you need to know about why prices never come back down. So, let's get started. Section 1. Inflation is a speed, not a price. This is the whole misunderstanding, and it takes 30 seconds to fix. Imagine you're driving at 100 miles an hour. Terrifying. So you slow down to 20. Great news, right? But you're still moving forward, just slowly. Slowing down is not reversing. Inflation is the speedometer. Prices are the odometer, the distance you've already traveled. When the news says inflation dropped from 9% to 3%, that's the speedometer. The odometer never moves backward. It just clicks forward a little slower. For prices to actually fall, the speedometer would have to drop below zero. The car would have to go into reverse. Economists call that deflation, and you're about to find out why they fear it more than inflation. Now let's put real numbers on it. Since 2020, overall prices in America are up roughly 25%. Groceries alone, about 32%. Rent, over 40% since 2019. Car insurance, over 50%. Today, inflation is around 3.4%. Sounds fixed. But it doesn't mean prices went back, it means they're climbing another 3.4% on top of the 32% they already climbed. Every month of good inflation news makes your cart more expensive, not cheaper. And this is why you're not crazy. Researchers at Stanford found that people don't compare prices to last year the way statistics do. We compare to the last price we trusted. Say gas jumps from $5 to $10. 12 months later, official gas inflation is 0%. Statistically, the crisis is over. But you still remember $5 and you're still angry, and you will be for years, so the government is measuring speed. You're measuring distance. That gap is the entire reason everyone feels broke while every chart insists things are fine. Now you know what falling inflation actually means, but your next question is obvious. So why can't prices just come back down? Let's find out in the next section. Section 2. Why prices refuse to fall. Let's meet Mike. Mike owns a coffee shop. In 2019, his latte was $4. Today, it's $6. Now imagine every one of Mike's costs magically drops back to 2019 levels overnight. Milk, beans, rent, everything. Does the latte go back to $4? No. There are 5 reasons why, and every one of them is completely rational. That's the scary part. The first reason is menu costs. The name comes from real restaurant menus. Changing a price isn't free. You reprint menus, reprogram the register, retrain staff. In 1985, economist Gregory Mankiw showed why this matters. Because changing prices costs money, a business will happily raise a price when demand goes up since the payoff is immediate. But when demand falls, the payoff from cutting is small, so they don't bother. The price gets stuck. Economists call this downward stickiness. Normal people call it, why is coffee still $6? The second reason is that a price cut is a signal. And it's a bad one. If Mike drops that latte to $4 tomorrow, customers don't think great value. They think, what happened to the coffee? Cheaper feels worse. And putting it back up later is a public confession that you were overcharging the whole time. This is why a bottle of Coca-Cola cost 5 cents from 1886 all the way to the late 1950s. 70 years, 2 world wars, same nickel. The third reason is one you've definitely noticed at the gas station. Economists literally call it rockets and feathers. When oil goes up, gas prices shoot up like a rocket, same day. When oil comes back down, gas prices drift down like a feather, slowly, and never quite all the way. It was documented in Britain in 1991 and confirmed in America in 1997, and researchers keep finding it everywhere. Up is fast, down is slow, always. The fourth reason is the sneaky one. When a company can't raise the price, it shrinks the product instead. You already know this one. Same bag of chips, same price, more air. Between 2012 and 2019, the average packaged food size in American stores shrank around 15%, quietly adding several points of inflation nobody voted on. Though here's a plot twist. Most of that wasn't your favorite product secretly shrinking. It was old products replaced by new, smaller ones, which is somehow worse. And the fifth reason is the big one, because it's about you. Prices can't fall because wages can't fall. Think about it. What's Mike's biggest cost? Not beans, not milk, it's his baristas. So for that latte to go back to $4, Mike would have to cut his staff's pay. Would you accept a pay cut this year? Exactly. Nobody would. An economist named Truman Bewley actually went and asked. He interviewed over 300 executives and union leaders during a recession. They all said the same thing. Cutting pay destroys morale, and destroyed morale costs more than the money you save. Most said they'd rather fire people than pay them less, which tells you a lot about morale. And there's your chain. Wages don't fall, so labor costs don't fall, so the latte doesn't fall, so the price level doesn't fall. Your paycheck is the floor underneath every price in the economy. Now you know why prices are stuck. But your next question might be, wait, has this always been true? Have prices ever come back down? Well, let's find out in the next section. Section 3. The strange thing that happened after World War II. Here's a fact that surprises almost everyone. For most of history, prices did come back down. Regularly. Look at the 1800s. Across that whole century, American prices ended lower than they started. Not flat. Lower. Your great-great-grandfather genuinely expected things to get cheaper, which is possibly the most alien sentence in this video. Now look at the early 1900s. Between 1913 and 1941, the American Price Index went up 18 times and down 10 times. It zigzagged. And after 1920, it didn't just dip, it collapsed. Consumer prices peaked at almost 24% inflation in June of 1920. 12 months later, they were down almost 16%, a bigger one-year drop than anything in the Great Depression. So prices used to bounce. And then they stopped. Completely. After World War II, the American Price Index went almost 54 years without a single 12-month decline. The last one before 2009 happened in August of 1955. Sit with that for a second. If you're under 70, you have never lived in a world where the price level went backward. Not once. So what changed? Nothing about human nature. Nothing about supply and demand. What changed was a decision. And here's my favorite part of this story, purely because of how ridiculous it is. Almost every central bank on Earth now targets 2% inflation. 2%. Where did that come from? A massive study? A mathematical proof? Decades of research? Nope. A guy on television. In the late 1980s, New Zealand's finance minister was asked on TV whether he was happy with inflation. He said no, ideally he'd want something between 0 and 1%. Just an offhand answer on a talk show. But once a finance minister says it on national television, the central bank has to make it real. So they did some math about measurement error, rounded a number, and landed on a target topping out at 2%. That was 1989. Canada copied it. Britain copied it. Everybody copied it. The American Federal Reserve made it official in 2012. So the reason your money loses value every single year, forever, traces back to one man answering a question he'd forgotten by dinner. But here's the part I need you to hear. That was not a mistake. Aiming for 2% instead of 0 is a deliberate choice to guarantee prices never fall. Somebody decided this on purpose. And now we talk about why. Now that you know prices used to fall and suddenly don't, your next question has to be, is that actually a bad thing? Well, let's find out in the next section. Section 4. Why everyone in charge is terrified of cheap stuff. Well, the answer is it depends. But mostly it's terrifying. Here's why. Imagine you want a new laptop. $1,000. But everybody knows prices are falling, so next month it'll be $950. So you wait. Next month it's $900. So you wait again. Now multiply that by an entire country. Everyone delays everything. Sales collapse. Companies earn less, so they cut hours and lay people off. Those people have no money, so they spend even less. So prices fall further. So more people wait. That's a deflationary spiral, and it is brutally hard to escape once it starts. Then there's the second problem, and it's nastier. Debt. Say you have a $200,000 mortgage. Under inflation, that debt quietly shrinks in real terms while your paycheck grows. Under deflation, the opposite. The debt stays $200,000, but your income falls, so the loan gets heavier every year. Economist Irving Fisher described this back in 1933 with a brutal line. The more debtors pay, the more they owe. Everyone rushes to pay off loans, which pulls money out of the economy, pushes prices down further, and makes the remaining debt heavier still. A trap that tightens the harder you fight it. The real-world example is Japan. After its property bubble burst in the early 1990s, Japan fell into decades of falling prices. Companies couldn't grow profits, so they froze wages and stopped investing. Workers got scared, so they saved instead of spending. An entire generation grew up with almost no realistic shot at a raise. And the extreme version is the Great Depression. From 1929 to 1932, American output dropped by about a third. Consumer prices fell around 20%, and unemployment climbed from roughly 3% to roughly 25%. So yes, prices came back down. That's what it looked like. Now, to be fair, not every economist thinks cheap stuff is automatic doom. In 2015, researchers at the Bank for International Settlements studied 140 years of falling prices across 38 economies and found the link between deflation and weak growth is surprisingly thin, mostly driven by the Great Depression. The real killer, they argued, isn't cheaper groceries. It's collapsing asset prices, stocks, and houses, dragging the banks down with them. But here's the part nobody says out loud. Who actually benefits from prices never falling? The biggest borrower in your country. Your government. Inflation quietly shrinks the real value of national debt while tax revenue rises with prices. One study estimated 6% inflation over 4 years could shave roughly 20% off a debt-to-GDP ratio. No spending cuts, no tax hikes, no protests, just time. So no, there's no smoke-filled room. But the people setting the target are the people who owe the most. Make of that what you will. Now you know why nobody in charge wants prices to fall. So your next question is, does anything ever actually get cheaper? Let's look at real examples. Section 5. What actually gets cheaper and why? Here's the good news. Some things do get cheaper, dramatically cheaper, and the pattern explains everything. Since 2000, television prices in America are down about 97%. Toys, down over 70%. Cell phone service, around 40%. In 2001, a 50-inch TV on Black Friday cost about $1,100. Today, that size costs under $200. That's not adjusted for inflation. Those are real dollars. Meanwhile, over that same stretch, college tuition, textbooks, and hospital care went straight up. Here's the comparison. Feel free to screenshot it. See the pattern? The things that got cheaper are things where machines got better, factories got more efficient, and global competition was brutal. The things that exploded are made of human hours. You can't automate a nurse. You can't offshore a hospital bed. So prices can fall, but only when production improves faster than costs. Not because inflation slowed down. Watch this live with eggs. In 2025, bird flu wiped out flocks and eggs went over $6 a dozen. It was on the news constantly. Then farms recovered, supply came roaring back, and by mid-2026, eggs were down around 45%, some places under $1. Real deflation in one product. But look at the same store in the same month. Ground beef hit a record, over $6 a pound, up 22% in a year because the American cattle herd shrank to its smallest in 75 years. Eggs crashed and beef exploded in the same cart, in the same week. That's the whole lesson. Prices follow supply, not headlines. Then you might ask, fine, but if prices never come back down, how does anybody ever recover? The answer is disappointing, but honest. Prices don't come down to meet you. Your income climbs up to meet them. That's the entire mechanism. Wages in America rose about 28% from 2019 to 2025, while prices rose about 26%. So people slowly clawed back most of what they lost. Slowly, unevenly. And it can absolutely reverse. So recovering from inflation isn't a sale. It's a race. You win by earning more, negotiating harder, and switching jobs when you have to, not by waiting for the sticker to change. So, in conclusion, falling inflation was never a promise that prices would come back. It only ever meant they'd climb slower. Prices are a ratchet. They turn one way and lock. And that isn't a bug in the system, it's the design. Because the alternative, a world where everything gets cheaper every year, is a world where nobody gets a raise and every debt gets heavier. So the next time a headline tells you inflation is beaten, you'll know exactly what it means. The bleeding stopped. You just don't get the blood back. And if you're still wondering why some countries handle this fine while others spiral into hyperinflation, or what you should actually do with your money while it happens, well, maybe that's for another video, because we're out of time. If you want me to make other videos explaining these topics, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.